Okay, so when the Browns announced they traded Joe Flacco, that was maybe a bit of a surprise.
A mild one, yeah.
But then finding out where he landed, Cincinnati, a division rival,
Yeah.
that just turned everything on its head in the AFC North.
Oh, absolutely. That wasn't just, clearing a roster spot. It felt much bigger. You could immediately sense this changed the whole dynamic inside that quarterback room.
Right.
It basically signaled, look, we're done with veteran buffers. The runway is clear now. Completely clear.
And that's exactly what we need to dig into today. We're looking at the fallout from this midseason move because it's created this incredibly intense situation.
High stakes, yeah.
It's all zeroed in on the rookie starter, Dillon Gabriel, third rounder, and the guy everyone seems to be talking about, Sanders, the fifth-round pick, who's now right there.
Right behind him, yeah. The pressure cooker is on full blast for those guys and for the whole organization.
Let's start with what Flacco actually represented, even after they benched him for Gabriel. You called him a shield before we started.
Yeah, I think that's fair. He was insurance, obviously, but more than that, he was kind of a psychological shield.
How so? Even when he wasn't playing?
Definitely. Think about it. Before the trade, all the noise comparing Gabriel and Sanders, it was kind of muted, right? Because they were both technically behind a Super Bowl winner. If Gabriel struggled, the fallback comparison was always Flacco, the vet.
Okay, I see. It wasn't rookie versus rookie immediately.
Exactly. It minimized that direct, apples to apples thing between the third rounder and the fifth rounder. Flacco just soaked up a lot of that outside pressure by being there.
So moving him, GM Andrew Berry basically pulled the curtain back completely. No more safety net.
Right.
And the message seems clear. We're evaluating these two guys. Forget drafting someone high next spring until we know what we have here.
And that's why the conversation, the fan chatter, has just exploded. Sanders moves up to QB2 officially. And if you thought people were calling for him before, wow. Sources say the volume is just overwhelming now. You can feel it.
It's turned into this public opinion battle, hasn't it?
Right.
What started internal is now totally external.
It just fast-tracked everything.
Must be tough for Gabriel. Drafted way ahead of Sanders, only one start under his belt. This feels like a whole different level of pressure for a rookie.
It's brutal. There was this analogy used comparing it to like having a desk job where your boss is just watching your screen constantly.
Weird.
Yeah, but instead of one boss, it's millions of people. And a lot of them are kind of just waiting, almost hoping you slip up so their guy gets a shot.
That's a heavy weight for a young player just trying to find his footing.
Yeah.
But hang on. Are we maybe giving him too much of an out here? Isn't this just part of being an NFL quarterback on a team that wants to win now?
That's fair. That's a good point. Pressure is part of the job description. But you have to look at why it's so magnified right now. It's not just the expectations.
Okay.
It's the context. The team around him isn't exactly helping him out. You start 1-3, and the problems are clearly bigger than just the quarterback.
So what are those specific issues making his job harder?
Well, the list is kind of long, but two things really jump out. First, the offensive line. It's just unstable.
Yeah, seems like they're shuffling tackles constantly.
Almost weekly. It's incredibly hard to find any rhythm in the pocket when that's happening. And second, the receivers. They're not helping him.
Dropped passes.
A ton of them. The research showed his receivers are dropping more passes than players on 30 of the other 31 teams. That's startling.
Wow. So you can't build confidence, can't sustain drives if the basics aren't there.
Exactly. You can't look competent when you can't trust your protection or your pass catchers consistently.
So every mistake, even if it's not entirely his fault, gets amplified. That sand timer idea you mentioned feels spot on.
It really does. Every incompletion, every 3-and-out, every turnover, you can almost hear the sand falling faster. And what's really interesting, maybe a bit telling, is how the broadcasts are covering it. Sources mention cameras panning to Sanders on the sideline right after a bad Gabriel play.
Or showing fans in Sanders jerseys.
Yeah. That visual contrast, it's almost like this active, public undermining happening in real time. It's hard to stay focused when it feels like they're lining up your replacement on camera.
Okay, let's pivot to Sanders then. This groundswell for a fifth-round pick is pretty unusual. But him getting the backup job suggests the coaches see something real there too.
They definitely do. And it's not just, Twitter hype or practice highlights, though fans have been eating those up since minicamp.
Right.
The coaches are impressed with actual traits, his poise, his accuracy, and how quickly he seems to be adapting to the NFL game speed. His promotion kind of validates all that fan excitement.
What is it about him specifically that justifies moving him up the ladder this fast?
I think it's a combination of confidence and his college production. He's not acting like a typical rookie just happy to be there.
No, he's been pretty vocal recently.
Extremely. He came right out and said it, "I'm ready to play right now."
And he even went further, didn't he? Took a shot almost at other starters.
Yeah, he followed up saying he thinks he's capable of doing better than some guys currently starting in the league. That's bold for a fifth-round rookie.
Very bold.
But it shows that self-belief, which coaches often love. And remember, this isn't some project player. He was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year last season.
Good point. Highly decorated.
So, accomplished player, transitioning fast, brimming with confidence. The talent and the mindset seem to be lining up.
Okay, so you have this intense pressure building on Gabriel, partly situational, partly performance. And you have Sanders looking ready, sounding ready, with huge fan backing. The obvious question is when. If a change is coming, when's the logical time to do it?
If Gabriel continues to struggle over these next few games, everyone seems to be pointing to one specific time, the Week 9 bye. That feels like the pivot point.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense logistically.
Good.
Why is the bye week so crucial for a QB change?
Because it's not just plugging in a different player. It often means changing the whole offensive approach.
Right.
The bye gives Coach Stefanski 2 full weeks, like a minicamp, basically to build a game plan around Sanders' specific skills. He's different from Gabriel.
More mobile, willing to improvise.
Exactly. He extends plays, looks for big plays downfield. You need time to install concepts that leverage that. You can't just flip a switch midweek and expect it to work.
You need to change blocking schemes, route depths, reads. Everything is interconnected.
Precisely. Adjust protection, maybe add more RPOs, get the whole offense comfortable with a guy who likes to move. If they wait past the bye week, they lose that prep time.
And you risk throwing Sanders in cold without tailoring the offense, which isn't fair to him either.
Right. It sets him up to potentially fail. So Week 9 feels like the make-or-break decision window.
And this whole drama ties back into the Browns' bigger picture problem too, doesn't it? They're still without Deshaun Watson, long-term injury.
Achilles, yeah.
They need answers at quarterback, not just for this season, but long-term. They have to figure out what they've got in Gabriel and Sanders before making huge decisions next offseason.
The clock is ticking. That urgency is probably what drove the Flacco trade to begin with. They need to know.
Okay, let's try to sum this up. The Flacco trade wasn't just a footnote. It was the catalyst that turned a standard rookie QB situation into this pressure-filled public spectacle.
Totally.
It cleared the way, put Gabriel squarely in the hot seat, and now everything seems to be pointing towards that Week 9 bye week as a potential flashpoint.
And that brings us to maybe the bigger, more strategic angle here. Something for you to think about as this AFC North situation plays out. We've talked all about the internal pressure cooker, Gabriel versus Sanders.
Right.
But let's not forget the massive external risk the GM took here.
Trading Flacco to the Bengals in the division still sounds wild.
It really is, especially to a rival still theoretically in the hunt. You have to really step back and consider Andrew Berry's calculus there.
What was he prioritizing?
Was it purely about internal clarity? Deciding he absolutely had to evaluate these rookies now, and that benefit outweighed any short-term risk? Or was he just desperate to move Flacco, get him off the roster, maybe get a small asset back, and maybe underestimated the risk of potentially helping Cincinnati?
That internal focus versus external threat.
Exactly. That's the real strategic gamble embedded in this whole thing. And it's a gamble that could really come back to bite them if Flacco finds success with the Bengals. That's the high-level chess match to keep an eye on.